As we read in the previous passage, the heart centered on God's promises are steadfast. Psalm 112 verses 8 to 9. Christian living is for the established heart. Psalm 112:8, his heart is established, he will not be afraid until he sees his desire upon his enemies. The psalmist's heart is established, it is bolstered, firm in faith and trust, making him as a buttress against evil by the strength of his Maker. He is ready to face any adversary, as a righteous heart leads to a brave countenance. When he is assailed by enemies, he will not be afraid. By the power of God, he will certainly overcome his spiritual enemies, and while he is watching he will look calmly on all their efforts to destroy him, knowing that those efforts are in vain. He may well have to endure these conflicts for a brief period, but he will certainly triumph. Although he desires justice to be done, he holds no animosity by way of private revenge. God's grace in him desires good for the enemy as well. Psalm 112:9. The pious man, from verse 5, he has dispersed abroad, he has given to the poor, his righteousness endures forever, his horn will be exalted with honor. God is intent on providing for the poor. We see the originating principles of a workfare program way back in the book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 22. When you reap the harvest of your land, you are not to reap all the way to the edge of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Leave them for the poor and the foreign resident. I am Yahweh your God. God has the only poverty program that is really going to work. Workfare coupled with the changed nature of the natural-born man. Recall God's judicial command to Adam, we eat by the sweat of our brow. Unfortunately, the self-adulating greedy human nature that used to be part of our old nature, sadly, even for the sanctified Christian, remnants of that nature still resides in the unrenewed recesses of our flesh-trained mind that we were born with. The natural-born person who continues to reject Christ's propitiation, self is in full unencumbered function in their lives, and most of whom are not interested in God's method. They are intent on solving the problems themselves through human wisdom, by gifting and governance, thinking they can legislatively extract generosity from a manipulated and pliable human heart, but as human nature will have it, those in power usually end up doing well by themselves, instead of doing well by the poor. God's Spirit instructs his children on Christian living through Paul in 1 Timothy 6:17-20, saying, instruct those who are rich in the present age not to be arrogant or to set their hope on the uncertainty of wealth but on God, who richly provides us with all things to enjoy. 18. Instruct them to do what is good, to be rich in good works, to be generous, willing to share. 19. Storing up for themselves a good reserve for the age to come, so that they may take hold of life that is real. 20. Timothy, guard what has been entrusted to you, avoiding irreverent, empty speech and contradictions from the knowledge that falsely bears that name. Christian living. Acts 20:35, in every way, I've shown you that by laboring like this, it is necessary to help the weak and to keep in mind the words of the Lord Jesus, for he said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. Ephesians 4:28, the thief must no longer steal. Instead, he must do honest work with his own hands, so that he has something to share with anyone in need. When the thief reforms, God will exalt and honor him. HCSB.